As explained in the previous video, many philosophers and scientists believe that consciousness emerges from the brain. But what if the brain was not the key factor here? The goal of this video is not to bring final answers, but simply to raise one question. And what if life was a good enough soil for consciousness?
Life.
But as you can see, he has no brain.
Turns out you don't need one.
Do you know C. elegans? It is a very small worm that is largely used in labs because it is very easy to study and to manipulate. Its tiny brain is composed of only 320 neurons with 5,000 synapses. This brain is so small that it has been totally mapped by scientists. Compared to the human brains with its 100 billion neurons, this is incredibly small. Nothing to be very proud of, as Antonio Damasio said in his book Self Comes to Mind. But despite its tiny brain, C. elegans displays complex behaviors, such as learning, mating, and social behaviors. And this is not denied by Antonio Damasio.
Now imagine that I had described the situation of C. elegans in the abstract, withholding the fact that they were worms. I suspect you would have detected evidence of intra-individual cooperation, and you might even have diagnosed altruistic concerns. You might even have thought that I was speaking of complex creatures, perhaps early humans.
So, Antonio, when scientific evidences show that C. elegans could have a form of self, even a very basic one, why do you conclude by,
and yet C. elegans is just a worm, without any mind to speak of and even less proper consciousness?
With only 320 neurons and a lifespan of only 20 days, this means without any dedicated training, compared to AI that are fed with billions of data during several months. C. elegans display more conscious behaviors than any existing AI. What more do you need? Can I make a suggestion? I'm a little scared of what you will say, but yes. What would be really convincing is a living creature having 0 neurons and that displays complex behaviors. Yes, very good idea. Well, I'm sure it does not exist. As a matter of fact, it does. And it's called the blob. No, not that blob. The other blob.
Y'all ready for this?
I am a unicellular organism, one giant cell. Ethologist Audrey Desatur has studied me for years. She wants to know if I'm capable of learning, whether I can learn to like salt. That's how I learned to tolerate salt. It was a clear surprise for the scientists because I don't even have a brain.
This experiment was carried out on 4,000 different blobs, because when you want to prove a unicellular being can learn, you have to be sure you can convince your colleagues. Of course, there were skeptics because we were breaking a cardinal rule. Learning is reserved for organisms with a brain.
Y'all ready for this?
Audrey Desatur wanted to go further with her investigation. Was I able to transmit what I learned to fellow blobs? If I ever come across a friendly relative, we can meld, merging our membranes to create a unified vascular system.
And what we saw if we allowed 2 blobs to fuse for 3 hours was that information passed from one blob to the other. The uneducated blob learned to like salt.
Y'all ready for this?
This slime mold can solve mazes. It does so by first exploring every path, and then when it's found the food at either end, it retracts any paths that don't connect the points.
Y'all ready for this?
Some science hippies in Japan were like, all right, if you're so smart, try and design a whole railway system. They put food on a map at each train destination and plopped a slime mold right on top of Tokyo. Think very low-budget Godzilla movie. The slime mold did its thing, but then they realized that it had made paths right through a lake and over some mountains. So they did it clever. They created a surface that let light through where there were natural obstacles on the map. Slime molds hate light. It hurts them, so they avoided those areas. On that surface, the slime mold created this network. And here is the actual rail system. When they looked at the slime mold's solution in terms of how much it would cost, how quick you could get places, and how it did if a part of it broke, it did just as well as the one that the Peebles made, without all the college debt.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I don't believe one word of this crap. So, let's summarize. The blob display clear evidence of intelligence, learning abilities, and communication abilities with its mates. And the blob displays clear evidence of consciousness, in the sense that it has clear capabilities to be aware of its environment and of itself. All that without any neurons. All that in one cell. And what is already present in one cell? Life. In the theory of species evolution, life appeared under the form of unicellular organism. And the ability to move, to survive, to reproduce, to communicate were already present, a long time before neurons appeared. Well, I'm sure that Antonio would say, it's just one cell, without any mind to speak of, and even less proper consciousness. Well, let's say that I do not agree.
Help me! I want to go back to the casserole!